Mumbai's iconic Gymkhanas and elite sports club could soon see a major change in how they operate. The Maharashtra government is proposing a new framework for renewing leases of Gymkhanas built on government-owned land in a move that could significantly increase state oversight over some of the city's oldest sporting institutions. Hi, I am Akshat Padal and this is what's happening. According to officials, the government has been holding discussions with administrators of 16 Gymkhanas located on collector-owned land across Mumbai. These clubs were many of those which were established during the British era, and they occupy valuable public land under lease agreements that date back to late 19th and 20th centuries. Several prominent lands include Bombay Gymkhana, Islam Gymkhana, Parsi Gymkhana and Hindu Gymkhana, which are already awaiting lease renewals, while others will face the process in coming years. One of the most significant proposals under consideration is the inclusion of the district collector as an ex officio member of each Gymkhana's management committee. Under the proposed rules and recommendations made by the collector would be binding on the clubs. The collector would also have the authority to nominate at least 5 individuals every year for permanent memberships or for upgrading service memberships to permanent status. The government is also seeking greater access to Gymkhana premises. Under the draft framework, the state would be allowed to use club facilities for official programs and public events for up to 5 days every year. Additionally, authorities would have the right to utilize these properties during elections, natural disasters, or any emergency situations that require public use of the land. The proposal comes against a backdrop of growing discussions about the use of public land by private and elite institutions. A study by the Observer Research Foundation estimates that Gymkhanas and elite clubs collectively occupy around 664 acres of land in Mumbai, accounting for nearly 1/5 of the city's total open spaces. Another major area of change involves event and revenue generation. The government has proposed limiting sporting events hosted by Gymkhanas to a maximum of 45 days annually with the prior intimation to the district collector. Clubs would also be required to pay license fees, that is starting from 50,000 rupees to 1.5 lakh rupees per day or for organizing such events. At present, these institutions pay only nominal lease rents and do not incur additional charges for hosting events. The state is also considering a shift towards market-linked lease rentals, which would be revised every 5 years, and officials say that this would ensure that the government receives fair compensation for the use of public land in prime urban locations. The proposed changes were first outlined by the Revenue and Forest Department in July 2025. Earlier this year, the government formed a study group to review the policies governing Gymkhanas and clubs across Maharashtra. This committee is currently examining land records, lease agreements, and revenue models before finalizing recommendations that will shape a new statewide Gymkhana policy. Government officials argue that the reforms are necessary to ensure that the large tracts of public land serve a broader public interest. They maintain that while Gymkhanas have played an important role in Mumbai's sporting and culture history, there also needs to be a balance between heritage and public accountability and access. Gymkhana representatives, however, are engaged in negotiations with the government to find a common ground. They point out that many clubs already offer memberships to serving and retired government employees and are willing to expand these quotas if necessary. Club officials stress that these institutions have long contributed to Mumbai's preserving sporting traditions and community. Legal experts say that the government has the authority to impose reasonable conditions related to rent and land use when renewing leases. However, they caution that direct involvement in club management could raise legal questions. According to legal opinion, any conditions imposed by the government must have a clear connection to the use of the leased property. Otherwise, they could potentially be challenged or as arbitrary or unfair. As discussions continue, the future of Mumbai's historic Gymkhanas hangs in the balance. The outcome of these negotiations could redefine the relationship between the state and some of the city's most prestigious sporting institutions, while also shaping how land is managed in the years ahead. Follow PrimeTime India for further such stories.